Emerge Mentoring. Thank you for joining us today.
We are bringing an Emerge tip this week, which is best filming practices. There's been so much filming, obviously with us all working online, so we thought we would share what helps us when it comes to preparing and editing and the actual filming content of it, and what we think would be best for you.
Yeah, so we definitely have a couple of helpful tips, and we'll actually give you a little bit of a homework assignment after this today as well.
Yeah, so the first thing that I think is important is to recognize where you're going to be filming, which platform you're using. So is this content going to be for IGTV, Insta Stories, is it for YouTube? This really plays a big part in the tone that you're using and also the quality of content, props, and what you're wearing.
Yeah, so we definitely want to start off with find out which platform you're going to be working with. Definitely Insta Stories, your conversation is going to be a lot more casual. It's going to be a little bit more on the fly. There won't be preparation behind the scenes. But if you do have the opportunity to do some pre-recording, that's when you can be a little bit more strategic, possibly about setting your space, setting the tone, and maybe finding some things within that environment that you can control.
Mm-hmm. So what's really big for us is taking notes. So when you're on stories, you have a little bit more of an opportunity to go on the fly, but when you're pre-recording something for IGTV or YouTube, we really recommend taking notes because you want to make sure that your content is valuable and you're concise. People aren't spending all day on these platforms. You have a very short time frame to get their attention. So taking notes keeps you organized, keeps you efficient, and makes you feel really confident.
Yeah, and definitely helps you give more direction and more purpose to what you'll be sharing with your audience. We also suggest if there's a way that you can control some of your lighting, go for it. If there's an opportunity to maybe use some props to set the space and maybe make it look a little more aesthetically pleasing. And then you'll notice we're wearing flat colors and flat tones. Maybe even try to put on an attire or something that suits your brand. And we try to avoid things that have large graphics on them or patterns because they can kind of get a little bit distracting.
Yeah, same with the background. I find a white wall or a clear wall is good. If you're at home, sometimes I even take frames off the wall. I find that to be super helpful just so the background isn't distracting.
And saying that, that's Toby, Megan's puppy. A lot of us are recording at home right now. So another big Emerge tip that we have is that if you are at home, there's a lot of circumstances that you can't control, like if your kids are in the background or your partner's playing video games or your animals are right at home with you. And saying that, there's a lot of forgiveness for this type of production quality right now. People are more interested in seeing quality content than the high production value as well. So something in terms of building some confidence is don't be so worried about whether or not it's the highest tech video that you're recording on or whether or not you have the best lighting available. Work with what you have, especially because a lot of us are working from home right now.
Yeah. And then when it comes to actually pressing play, if you're pre-recording, don't be afraid to do more than one take, especially because I find the second or third take is generally the winner because you just have a little bit more confidence when it comes to the flow, or that sounded really good, or I really like when I said that word. And so I definitely recommend if you have notes, put maybe a sticky note behind your camera with a couple of bullet points to keep you on track, and do a couple of run-throughs if you're pre-recorded. If you're going live or doing stories, just allow yourself to be natural and imagine you're talking to friends or colleagues. You don't have to be so specific when you are going live. So
Yeah,
there's a difference.
I always find doing stories feels a little bit more intimate, and stories are only up for 24 hours, so if it's not perfect, it's usually gone afterwards. If you're doing anything that's going to be pre-recorded and on one of your pages or platforms permanently, then put a little more thought into it too. And then when it comes time to actually starting to speak, we really encourage you to have a short and sweet, valuable 10-second introduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people our audience viewers, there's always new information going out about the length of time and the attention span that we have. So 10 seconds is really important. You introduce yourself, what your business is, and then what the topic is. So right away, we introduced ourselves, our names, we're from Emerge Mentoring, and the topic, our best filming practices. So that when you're scrolling, you're yes, I want to take that content and I'm going to save it so I can listen to it later. Whereas if someone isn't interested in filming, then right away they know they can skip it.
Yeah, and being concise and strategic with what you're saying, thoughtful with what you're saying is also really important. We find sometimes have a purpose and intention with what you're going in for, have those bullet points, so you're not just kind of going off on a tangent or rambling on or talking about the same subject for too long or even catch yourself repeating yourself. So being super concise and to the point.
Yeah. And then when it comes to ending the videos, I find this is sometimes where the rambling comes on because you're how am I going to finish saying this? Or I did so good, I don't want to end it sounding weird. So right away before you start, think about how you're going to end it. And I like to end it with a call to action. So we like to say something like, share this with a friend you know, or we like to offer you guys like a challenge or something. Like at the end of this video, there'll be a little homework assignment. So right away you know the topic you're gonna end on and how you're gonna end it off.
Yeah, and also a lot of us are filming from our phones. So besides, prepping and the content of your video, people get really nervous about the editing process. I have some practices for myself, like I have an iPhone, I use iMovie, and I've learned how to use iMovie from my phone just from watching like a YouTube tutorial, and I find it really user-friendly to be able to trim beginnings, ends, and maybe even blend a couple videos in between. I also have gotten pretty comfortable uploading things onto YouTube. Again, not super high quality production, but I've learned how to trim as well on YouTube, and Megan has a bunch of other apps that she enjoys for improving the quality of your video.
Yeah, so I like to use InShot myself. I find there's a lot of options, and the more I've used it, the more I've got comfortable with it. Like you can add, they have music on there that's free that you can use. Just make sure you tag the artist and it says it. There's trimming as well, cutting. You can cut things out, slow things down, speed things up. There's a lot of really cool options, so don't be afraid to like give yourself 30 minutes to kind of play around. And the more you get comfortable, you'll know this is the edit I like. Sometimes you can filter, and that's the other thing when it comes to filtering. A lot of apps offer you the opportunity to do that, especially like Insta stories, but be mindful that you don't want to over edit. Like if your video has professional content, you don't want to have like the crazy heart filter all over your face, right? Because that's going to show that maybe you're doing silly or fun content. But if you are trying to be professional, just be mindful that you're not over filtering.
Yeah, and we think the filters are probably even better for your Insta stories, like that more casual platform, day to day, just seeing me as I am in a playful sort of mindset. But over filtering can sometimes even dilute the message or the content of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, you don't need to over edit. Generally, if your content is valuable and you're feeling confident, then you don't need to have all the extra bells and whistles to embellish it.
Yeah, and we'll all feel comfortable with different things. Like I know a friend of mine that uses an app called Cute Story. Just allows you to record for a really long time, so you're not stuck sort of stopping every 15 seconds or the 1 minute that Instagram stories cuts you off for. So just sort of finding what works for you to get yourself behind the camera and speaking to your audience more frequently.
Yeah. So we have a homework assignment, and we want you to take any of these tips that resonate with you, even if you just take 1 or 2 to start with. And the homework assignment is we want you to film a 5-minute IGTV video.
Yeah, so you'll introduce yourself and let us know what your business is, and then we're hoping that you will share with us in this 5-minute IGTV one of your favorite products or services that you're featuring right now. Maybe you've been able to move it online, but whatever that favorite product or feature is, share it with us and tell us more about it.
Yeah, because we want to share it and I'll use these videos so that everyone can support each other in the communities, especially as we navigate this interesting season we're in.
Yeah, so be sure to tag us in that video. We're happy to reshare it on our platform, and happy filming.